So here's the agenda for the call. Like I said, we're going to introduce some staff that are on the call from the Unified Champions Schools program. Some of the staff on here could be the liaisons for your school, depending where your school is located in the state. We're going to go over the 2022 updates, as well as reminders for this season, team, coach, program requirements, events, divisioning, all of the dates and deadlines for your timeline for the Unified Track and Field season. And then at the end, we're going to open it up for questions. Also, throughout the presentation, feel free to put any questions in the chat box, and the other UCS staff I will try to answer to the best of our abilities. So I think we have 3 UCS staff on the call, but we also have Allison for Northeast PA, Jen Tresp, who covers North Central and Northwestern PA, Lauren Salter, who covers the South Central PA and Luzerne County. And we have Stephanie Taylor, who covers Western Pennsylvania, and David Maystein and Hope Warner, who cover Pittsburgh. Ashley and James, if you'd like to introduce yourself, go ahead.
All right, I am Ashley Hurt. I'm the liaison for Southeast PA. So I cover the high schools in Bucks, Chester, Montgomery, and Delaware counties. Mike Jordan and I are going to be passing the baton off, haha, pun intended, on the PowerPoint slides today. That was super corny, I know.
Hi, I'm James Ellison. I cover Greater Lehigh Valley, Pocono region, which also includes Berks County as well.
Thanks, Ashley. Thanks, James. And my name is Mike Jordan. I cover all of the schools in Philadelphia. Let's get it going. So this is the Unified Champions School Model at a glance. We'll cover it very briefly. If you can see the graphic on the right side of the slide, the 3 components of the Unified Champions School Models are Interscholastic Unified Sports, which is this presentation, which is Unified Track and Field, Inclusive Youth Leadership, if your school participated in a youth summit, or the whole school engagement component, which is something like the Spread the Word campaign or the Polar Pop. Our Unified Sports try as hard as possible to align ourselves with the PIAA. So most of your leagues and your schools will follow the same procedures that Special Olympics follows. So to start with the 2022 Coach's Handbook. So first of all, a hard copy is going to be mailed to each school. Also, a link will be provided so you can access the book online, and both will be coming out shortly, I think the beginning of March.
Yep.
In the handbook. Go ahead.
You should have the one mailed to your school the beginning of March before your season starts. The online link should be available sooner.
Thanks, Ashley. So in the handbook is going to contain all of the rules and regulations. It's also going to have diagrams, step-by-step directions of how to set up and measure the field events, things like the vector lines for the mini jab throws, long jump pit, and all those great stuff. It's also going to be 1-page documents for competition management that provides setup instructions and volunteer roles, as well as practice and training ideas and suggestions. Here's some changes that are going to be happening in the 2022 season that might have been different from your previous Unified Track and Field seasons. First of all, our plan is to return to as normal as the track and field season as possible. Having said that, all competition and practices are scheduled to be in person. We'll be returning back to running in every lane on the track. I understand that last year might have been every other lane, so we'll be using every lane on the track. Still follow your school's best protocols, and we do recommend wiping down and sanitizing equipment for cleanliness, also using hand sanitizer and washing hands often. Wearing gloves is also no longer required for relays, so that was something that was a rule last year, which is no longer in effect. For the COVID mask protocol at the beginning of the track and field season, or right before the track and field season starts, we're going to send out a survey to all of your school's athletic directors, and they'll be required to fill out a couple of questions regarding your school's varsity sport mask policy. What Special Olympics Pennsylvania is going to do is to defer to the home school's mask policy. So whatever the policy is at the school that is hosting the track and field event, that's the rules that we're going to follow for that track and field event. You'll be required to follow the mask policy at the school you're competing at. Another change happening this year is we are finally, long overdue, switching to metric measurements. It used to be feet and inches. We're making this change because we're using a new game management software that's going to make it a whole lot easier for us to make our heat books, and that requires metric measurements. So as you record these for your time trials, your heat books, when you measure the field distances, all of that needs to be measured in meters and centimeters. All returning track and field schools have been given 3 tape measures. Please don't lose them, but use them. Please make sure that all of your meet volunteers are aware of this new rule change as well.
All right, I'm going to pick it up here for team and coach requirements. So Unified Champion School sports programs are for students in 9th through 12th grade. This is a co-ed program, so it's open to male and female students. And unlike the PIAA, this is open up until for students with disabilities up until age of 21. So as long as they're receiving some sort of service from the school district, they can continue in unified sports until the age of 21. For this year only, because of COVID last year and the rulings that came down from the government, students who are 22 and who have opted in for an additional year this year because of COVID are eligible to participate. That is for this year only. Our required roster size. So for your track team, the minimum that you have to have has to be 12 students and the maximum is 40. In upcoming slides, we'll go over the ratios, but those 2 numbers are important to remember. You have to have a minimum of 12, but no more than 40. And the other big requirement is that students on your unified track team cannot participate in any other spring sport. That includes their regular varsity and JV track and field team. If they play baseball, I can't think of other spring sports, lacrosse. If they play a spring sport, they cannot play unified track and field. Unified track and field is their sport for that spring, for the spring. So this is a little bit about those ratios, how the roster has to be broken down. Your team needs to have a proportional number of Special Olympics eligible students and general education students. So you'll see in a lot of our materials, we refer to special education students as athletes and our general education students as partners. What classifies a Special Olympics eligible student or an athlete is if they have an intellectual disability, a developmental disability, which can include autism or a cognitive delay. Otherwise, they'd be classified as a partner, a general education student. The ideal goal for your roster is a 50-50 split. So that would mean that if you had a team of 12, that would mean you had 6 special education students and 6 regular education students. That's the ideal. We understand that always doesn't happen. Maybe you don't have as many special education students in your school or vice versa. So we do allow up to a 40-60 split either way. So you could have up to 60% of your team members be regular ed students and 40% special ed, or the other way around. You could have up to 60% of your team as special ed students and 40% regular ed students. Again, that 50-50 is ideal, but we know that doesn't always happen. You do need to maintain a 60-40. All schools need to maintain this proportional number. So some of the required paperwork, what is required is the PIAA medical physical form. So you don't have to fill out any sort of Special Olympics medical. It is the PIAA one that you would use for any other PIAA sport. If you have a student who's playing unified track and they did a fall or winter sport and their physical is already on file at the school, that physical exam form is good. They don't have to get another one filled out for track. We started this last year, but we at Special Olympics no longer collect the PIAA medical. That needs to stay on file at your school, as your school would do for any other varsity sport. So it should be in your athletic office with the athletic director. So don't send the physicals to us, keep them on file at your school. The other document that has to be filled out is our e-waiver. It's an online waiver. It's a Google Doc. It takes less than 5 minutes to complete. If a student is under 18, their parent or guardian needs to fill it out for them. If they are over 18, the student can fill it out themselves. You will get a copy of this presentation and all the links, so you'll be able to send that waiver link out to your students. If they already filled the e-waiver out for bocce, they do not need to fill it out again. The forms come directly to Special Olympics on the e-waiver. You will not be able to tell as a coach who filled the form out. We will be able to tell as your liaisons, and we'll have to relay that info to you. If you have a family who can't get on the internet or doesn't have a smartphone, can't access this form, we can send you a paper copy of it. And this is for both partners and athletes, both the physical and the e-waiver have to be filled out by everyone. All right, bib numbers and uniforms. So at the beginning of the season, everyone on your team will be assigned a bib number. That is their bib number for the entire season. So if I got assigned number 10, Mike got assigned 11, James got assigned 12, that would be our number all season. I would need to keep that number. Students can't switch bib numbers. It's how we organize our heat sheets. If a bib number is lost, we ask that you just make a new one on a piece of paper, but keep the same number. And the other big piece is uniforms. So uniform orders are due super soon. They are due March 7th. We know that is super early, but if you have been with us for bocce season, you know that we have had quite a debacle with uniforms, and we ordered them in December and some schools still don't have them due to all kinds of delays. So we need everyone to order their uniforms super early. That's why it says March 7th. New
question.
school. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
that's okay.
I'm Sal. I'm from High School North.
Hi.
I don't know if this is going to be a problem for me, but my first year we had enough uniforms to fulfill 19 students. If I come across to where I'm lucky enough to even have that many again or more, do I contact who for uniforms?
Right. So if you are a returning school, you can order an additional maximum of 15 uniforms as needed based on your current roster. There is a link to AmPro for the uniforms that is further in this presentation. So you'll get a copy of this presentation with the links and your liaison. Not sure which region you're in, but whatever region you're in, James he's got you. We'll send you the link. So if you're returning, you can order up to 15 additional uniforms. If you were brand new school, you need to order one uniform for everybody on your team. Obviously, the minimum required is 12, the max is 40. A uniform consists of a jersey or a singlet, which is like the racing tank top, and a pair of shorts. You can see in this picture here, the shorts and tank top that constitute our uniform. Students can wear a layer underneath. They can wear a long sleeve underneath. They can wear pants or like spandex shorts underneath, but their uniform has to be their outermost layer when they're competing. They have to have the uniform on top. You also get coaches polos. The maximum you can order is 4. You need 1 polo per coach. We also provide you with equipment when you are a brand new school. We provide you with a mini javelin. You can see here. All of our mini jabs are 400 grams. Our shot puts are also 6 pounds. That's a little different than PIAA. In unified, male and female, both, all divisions, all genders use the same 6-pound shot put, which is different than PIAA. You also are provided with the shot put and a relay baton. If you are a returning school and you need replacement equipment for whatever reason, contact your direct liaison, let them know what you need and why you need it. If one broke, if you lost it, just let them know the reason, and they'll work out with you on getting whatever equipment you're missing. We ask that schools provide their own cones, their own stopwatches, and tape measures. We did provide returning schools with tape measures last year, but you may need to supplement your own tape measures. All right, practices and competitions. Our requirement is 2 after-school practices a week. Practices cannot be held during the school day. This has to be after school, a minimum of 2 per week. You can certainly practice more than that if you want, but 2 is the minimum. And all schools are required to participate in a minimum of 2 regular season meets. So you're required to host 1 home meet and attend 1 away meet. In addition to that, you'll also attend your regional championship meet based on where you're located. Your school can definitely participate in more than 2 regular season meets if you want. You need to let your athletic director know so they can let us know so we can schedule you for more than 2 meets. All of the liaisons work with the athletic directors at your schools to coordinate the schedules. And this year we are also returning back to tri-meets. Last year, because of COVID, we only did dual meets. This year we'll be back to tri-meets, so there will be 3 schools competing at the regular season meets at one time. which is how it was prior to last year. All right, coach requirements. So this is just a little breakdown. Obviously, if you have a smaller team, you don't need as many coaches. The bigger your team number gets, the more coaches you need. So if you are in that smaller range, 12 to 24, 1 to 2 coaches is what you need. When you start getting more than that, you need more coaches. There's a lot going on at track and field practices and meets. There's different events on the track. There's different events out in the field. And it may seem like at first that it's okay for one coach to handle it, but all of a sudden you'll have people going all over the place. And it's really important to make sure you have the right amount of coaches to ensure everyone's safety and that everyone is getting where they need to be, doing what they need to do. We do have 2 required coach trainings, and they are all through the National Federation of High School Sports. One is the concussion training, and the other is a unified sports training. We do recommend 2 optional trainings. These ones aren't required, and they are through the Special Olympics PA website. One is just a general orientation to Special Olympics, and the other is a protective behaviors. Again, these links will be in this PowerPoint that is provided to you. Those trainings, the sooner you can complete them, the better. They do need to be started. They should be started ideally prior to your first practice.
I'm sorry, I might have missed this. Did you say that we have to complete them again, even if we did them last year?
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I'll double check and get back to you. One of them, I want to say, is every 3 years. I don't remember off the top of my head, but we will double check and I'll make sure we follow back up with you on how often they have to be done, unless James, you remember.
The concussion has to be done every year.
Perfect. Yes. Concussion has to be done every year. Thank you, James. Yep, so you have to do that one every year. You should send a copy of your certificate to your liaison. Go back to Mike.
Thanks. So here's all the events that are going to be at a track meet, and they actually go sort of in order. So first we'll start with all of the track events. So we're going to get to the track meet, and first we're all going to run, all the participants that run the 100, first is going to be the 100 meters. Then it's going to be the 400, and then it's going to be the 800. Following the 800, then all of the field events are going to happen simultaneously. After all of the field events are completed, they're going to end the track meet with the relays. We're going to have a 4x1 and a 4x4. Also, every school can have 2 relay teams of each relay. So every school can have 2 4x1 teams and 2 4x4 teams. Each participant or each team member, their maximum participation in a track meet is 1 track event, 1 field event, and 1 relay race. A minimum participation can be just 1 track event, or just 1 field event, or just 1 relay race. But the maximum participation a team member can have is 1 track event, 1 field event, and 1 relay race. Once an individual is registered and they have their time trials to compile the heat book, those events cannot be changed throughout the season. They're locked in, the cells on the rosters will be locked, and the heat books will also be locked. So that individual is required to compete in those same events that they chose from the beginning of the season throughout the entire season. For the event requirements, so for the relays, there's 2 4x100 meter teams and 2 4x4 relay teams. In the relay teams, there's going to be 2 athletes and 2 partners to make 1 relay team. They can run in any order, so it can be athlete, partner, athlete, partner, athlete, athlete, partner, partner, or any combo of athletes and partners you'd like. In addition to those 2 athletes and 2 partners, you can have 1 alternate athlete and 1 alternate partner for each relay team. So in total, 6 people for each relay team, and you can have 2 relay teams total. Students can only be on 1 relay team, so you can't be running the 4x1 and the 4x4. Each participant can only be in 1 relay maximum. These relay teams also must remain the same for each competition throughout the season. So just as they pick that event, once they're in that event with that team is also locked throughout the entire season. If 2 athletes and 2 partners are not present from the registered list of 6, then the team won't be able to run. It has to be unified with the 2 athletes and 2 partners. So for manual wheelchairs, they may compete in track events, relays, and field events. They also will compete against students with and without disabilities. For mechanical or power chairs, they may compete in track events and field events only. They're not able to participate in relays. In track events, they will only be divisioned with individuals also using mechanical or power chairs. And I'll pass it over to Ashley for divisions.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about divisioning now. Can you talk a bit about scoring? Yep, so scoring will come in as we talk a little bit about divisioning. Students using a walker can compete in a regular race. Yep. So the way we division our track meets is students with and without disabilities compete against each other in co-ed competition divisions. This is different than a traditional track meet. Again, like Mike said at the beginning, we closely align with PIAA, but Special Olympics is ultimately the governing body of unified track and field. That's why we're able to have these different rules and modifications. So the divisions are determined by the entrants having similar qualifying times or distances. So your divisions, the people in your divisions will be mixed. It could be male and female. It could be students with and without disabilities. That's the whole point of unified, is that when you step up to the track, it doesn't matter. You're all competing based on similar times, regardless of gender, disability, etc. Again, co-ed, so you'll have the same genders, you'll have mixed genders in the same heats. The way it works is at the beginning of the season, you are required to hold a time trial at your school. Your liaison will work with you on when specifically you should have that, but it has to be before your first scheduled track meet. So you will hold a time trial. Your athletes and partners need to decide what event, both field and track, and if it's a relay, that they are competing in for the season at your time trial. So they will run that event, they will throw their event, and if they're in a relay, they'll do all of them at your time trial, and that is their starting time for the season. So that's how we create divisions. We use those times and we put all of the times together. We don't even look at names or just pulling the times. We put all of the times together when we're making heat sheets for the tri-meets, and that's how the divisions are created. There's more info, I promise. It's all coming. I know divisioning is a lot. So go back one sec, Mike, sorry. 1 week before, like I said, 1 week before your regular season meet start is when your time trial information is due to your liaison. Again, your liaison will work with you on this. Each school is going to be a little different because your first meet is going to be different than other parts of the state. It's also going to vary depending on where you live. Our schools out in Erie County are going to have a lot more snow and may start way later than some of our schools down in Philadelphia do because of weather. So again, you can go to the next one. We use these times to put students in divisions. So at the first meet, we take the times and distances from your time trials. We use them to create the heat sheets. After the first meet, what we do as liaisons, so this isn't anything that you guys have to do as liaisons, we compare their times from their first meet to the times that they submitted at their qualifying time trials. As the season goes on at each meet, when we go to heat them for the next meet, we go based off of whatever their fastest time for the season is. So times and distances are updated for each participant whenever improvements occur. So if you're at your first meet, if your student's in the 100 and they run it in 1 minute, and their qualifying time was 58 seconds. So if they run slower at the first meet, when we go to heat them for the next meet, we still use that fastest time. We would use that 58 seconds from their time trials. If they run faster than the time submitted, they run 55 seconds. We then use that time. So each meet, your liaison is adjusting their times and adjusting their heats. We are using a new software this year called GMS, or Games Management Systems, and it is supposed to help make things a lot easier for us in putting together heat sheets. It is really important that you submit your qualifying times to your liaison on time. I can't stress the amount of time it takes us on the back end to put heat sheets together. It is an hours-long process, and we really need everyone to turn theirs in on time so we can get heat sheets to you on time. And the variance between the highest and lowest scores or times or distances in a division should be no more than 15 to 20%. Again, this is also something that we as liaisons set up when we do your heat sheets. Sometimes we will expand this variance to have fuller divisions of 3 or more competitors, but ideally we try to keep it between 15 to 20 points. 20%, sorry. I'm thinking points for scoring. Sometimes students do fall into a division of 1. If it's an individual event or a relay, their score is based on their exceeding their qualifying time or distance. So typically points are scored based on how you finished first, second, or third in your heat. If you're in a division of 1, obviously there's no one to compete against, so we can't automatically award a student a first or second place. If they beat their qualifying time, they're awarded 5 points, which is comparable to first place. If they do not beat their qualifying time, we award them 3 points, which is comparable to second place. This is also what we use for divisions of 1 in motorized wheelchair races. So in terms of scoring for meets, we assign points for first, second, third, etc. And then all of the points are totaled up at the end of the match. The meet, sorry, my brain's still in bocce. We're not going to get into it super in depth in this webinar, but in a webinar later in the season when we talk about score sheets and meet management, we will go over the breakdown of points and how we calculate points based on your team size. I don't want to totally rock everyone's world today by sharing all that because it is a lot of information. All right. Is this one you, Mike?
I can do it.
Doesn't matter. I don't remember what we said.
No worries. So for some dates and deadlines to share with you guys. So on Monday, March 7th is the first day that track practice can start. It's also the same day that uniform order deadline is due. Here's the link that Ashley referred to of how you can order new uniforms or replacement uniforms. So we'll be able to send you the recording of this as well as the slides out afterwards. Next up, Tuesday and Thursday, March 15th and March 17th are the webinars, how to use the electronic score sheet as well as track meet management. You can register.
Attend one, sorry.
No,
only
go ahead.
you attend one, not both. Just pick
And
one
the
of the 2
registration links are in here. So when we send out you those slides, you can join either one. And on Wednesday, March 16th is the PIAA SOPA Championship webinar with the registration link there to join it when we send out the slides. And finally, on Friday, March 18th is the participant roster for the deadline. Each school enters their team members via the link that their SOPA liaison will provide them, as well as physicals and waiver forms due. Also, the coach's quiz must be submitted by Friday, March 18th. One week before individual league competition is the last date for the time trial information that can be submitted. Each school will conduct their own time trials and submit to their liaison. This is going to vary, obviously, based on location and region, and your UCS liaison will coordinate that with you. For the weeks of March 28th and May 6th, that's going to be the regular season. And Friday, April 1st, letter of intents are due to attend the state championship at Shippensburg University. Monday, May 9th through Wednesday, May 18th, we're going to have our league championships as well as our state qualifier competitions. And then on Friday, May 27th through Saturday, May 28th is going to be the PIAA state competitions at Shippensburg University.
Something also new this year, if you played bocce, you're familiar with this. We now have a coach's quiz. So all coaches, and we will send you this link, all coaches must take this open book quiz on unified track and field. Again, your liaison will send you the link. It's open book. So once you get your coach's handbook, we encourage you to use that while you're taking the quiz. This must be taken by March 17th when your roster is due. Any coach who fails the quiz will have a one-to-one meeting with your liaison to review. Take note on the little sunshine there. We're hoping for sunshine weather during track season, and that sunshine may pop up somewhere else, like on a coach's quiz, maybe. Just saying.
Nice subtle hint there.
I know. I really try. Tracy's laughing. I appreciate that. Thank you. So just a couple of reminders. Again, the information on how to host a track meet, meet management, the scoring and the score sheets, that'll be during those 2 dates in March, the 15th and the 17th. You just pick one to attend. We're not going over that today. It's just way too much info to do at once. We also are not releasing specific details and requirements about the state championship at this time. Right now, all we are releasing is that it is at Shippensburg over that Memorial Day weekend. Once we have more dates, requirements, and details, it'll be sent to all schools. For now, we still are working some details out. All right, whew. It's only 35 minutes. Didn't want to keep everybody for an hour. I knew we just threw a lot of information